Hello students, I'm Mr. Troxel and welcome to 6th grade math.
In today's video, we'll be reviewing how to write and simplify expressions.
Feel free to freeze this video at any time as you try these questions at home. All right, have a seat at your desk and let's get started.
Let's look at question 1. Question 1 says, Yvette read a word problem that used the phrase 10 less than the product of 4 and a number. Which expression represents the phrase? First, let's look at the word product. Product means a number times a number. So we're looking for two numbers multiplied together. So the product of 4 and a number is going to be the number 4 times some number. We're using the parentheses here to represent multiplication. But you can also say 4 times n, 4 times n, or just 4n. All of these show multiplication. For now, let's just stick with this one. Then we've got 10 less in the product. So whatever this product is, we're going to minus 10 from it. So what we wind up with is 4 times n, which is 4 times a number, and that's our product, minus 10, which is 10 less than 4 times that number. Let's look at the answers here. Do any of them look close to 4n minus 10? Well, if we look at C right here, we have 4n minus 10. None of the other ones would work correctly because they're in the wrong order. And since it's a subtraction problem, the terms have to be in the correct order to get the right answer. How'd you do on this one? All right, let's try number 2. Number 2 says, which phrase describes the expression 50 divided by 5 times n? When you look at this phrase, you've got the 50 written out, then you've got this division sign. You could look at that as a fraction, but even in a fraction, the line means division. So we've got 50 divided by, and then we have on the bottom a term, and that term is 5 times n. We don't know what n is, it's just some number, but in algebraic equations, when we see a number and a letter next to each other, that means multiplication. So which one of these 4 answers say 50 divided by 5 times n? Well, that would be letter D right here. Letter D says 50 divided by the product of 5 and n. The product means multiplication, and we are doing 5 times n right here. So 50 divided by the product of 5 times n. Letter D would be the correct answer. How'd you do on that one? All right, let's try number 3. Number 3 says, what is the value of the expression 2 raised to the third power minus 1 in parentheses plus 3 raised to the second power? Okay, so here we have an algebraic expression, and we're going to need to do something called the order of operation. And in the order of operation, we're going to work with the acronym called PEMDAS. PEMDAS is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And in the order of operations, we do parentheses first. The first thing we do is, hey, are there any parentheses in this equation? And there are right here. So we need to resolve what's in the parentheses first. In the parentheses, we have 2 to the third power minus 1. 2 to the third power is the same as saying 2 times 2 times 2. And whatever that is, we're going to minus 1. Well, first, let's figure this out. 2 times 2 is 4. Then we're going to take that 4 and we're going to times that by 2, and we're going to get 8. Now, it's important that you don't just take all this and do 3 times 2 or 2 times 3, because that's wrong. So we're going to rewrite the problem as 8 minus 1 plus 3 to the second power. Now we have to ask ourselves, we've done the parentheses. Do we have any exponents? Because that's the next step in PEMDAS, and we sure do. We've got this 3 raised to the second power. So let's do 3 raised to the second power and see what number that is. 3 times 3 raised to the second power would just be 3 times itself. That's 9. So now let's rewrite the question as 8 minus 1 plus 9. Next, we're going to ask ourselves, do we have any multiplication? We don't. Do we have any division? We don't. The next step in PEMDAS is addition and subtraction. Now, these don't really matter which order you do them in. We're just going to start over the left and work our way over to the right. So right here, we'll start over here. 8 minus 1, well, that's a 7. Plus 9, and that equals 16. So here's our final answer, 16. And we've worked this problem out in the order of operations. The parentheses first, then the exponents, then we check for multiplication, division, and then addition and subtraction. Now we're going to go over to our answers over here. Does one of them match the answer that we got right here, 16? Well, it sure does. Letter D is looking pretty good to me. How'd you do on this one? The order of operations can be tricky. All right, let's try the next question. Question 4 says, it costs $150 to rent a party room at Pizza and Games, plus $6 per person for pizza and $5 per person for game tickets. The expression shown gives the total cost for N people. So we've got this expression right here, which is 150, which is the one-time cost for the party rental room. So that's not per person, that's one charge for everyone. Then we've got plus $6 per person for pizza. We don't know how many people just yet, so we're going to represent the number of people with the variable N. And then finally we have plus $5 per person for game tickets. Again, we don't know how many people just yet, so we're going to represent the number of people again with N. N will be the same in both of these because it's the same number of people purchasing tickets and purchasing pizza. Now let's look at the next step of this question. Evaluate the expression to find the cost for a party of 15 people. Well, now we know N equals 15. Now we can start doing our math. Let's rewrite the question, substituting N with the 15. So now we've got 150 plus 6 times 15, and we're going to use parentheses to signify multiplication, plus 5 times 15. So there's our new problem. The first thing we need to use is PEMDAS. Remember, there's an order to the operations. The P in PEMDAS means parentheses. That gets done first. Do we have any equations to evaluate inside parentheses? Well, we do have parentheses here, but all we have is numbers in them. So there's nothing to do other than just leave them. Next, we have exponents. We're not dealing with exponents here. Nothing's raised to any power, so we're good there. Next, multiplication and division. Do we have multiplication and division? We sure do. We have addition right here, but we're not ready for addition, so we're going to move on. But right here, there's a multiplication problem, and right here, there's a multiplication problem. So we need to multiply those first before we do any addition. So I'm going to rewrite the problem, replacing the 6 times 15 and the 5 times 15 with actual numbers. So here I've got 150 plus. Now what is 6 times 15? Well, that's 90. And now we've got plus again. We're just bringing this plus down, right? Then what is 5 times 15? Well, that's 75. Now we've rewritten the problem and there's no parentheses. There's no exponents. We've done the multiplication and division. Now, do we have any addition and subtraction? Well, we sure do. We've got these plus signs right here. And that's our last step. So we're just going to add all these together. 150 plus 90 plus 75 comes to a grand total of 315. Now let's go look at the answers. If we take our 315 and go up to the answers, do we see one that says 315? We sure do. Letter C, $315. How'd you do on this one? All right, let's go on to question number 5. Question number 5 says, the volume of a cube is calculated by multiplying all 3 side lengths. If a cube measures 16 centimeters on each side, which expression can be used to calculate the volume? All right, it sounds like a tricky question. First, let's draw a cube, right? A cube is just a square that's 3-dimensional, and a square, all sides are the same. So they're telling us that each one of these sides is 16. So the length is 16, the width is 16, and the height is 16, right? The height going up and down, the length left to right, and the width is front to back. 16, 16, 16. So what we're doing here is taking 16 times 16, right? And then times 16. So 16 times 16 times 16. Which one of these answers shows 16 times 16 times 16? Well, saying 16 times 16 times 16 is the same thing as saying 16 raised to the 3rd power, or 16 cubed. And that's where that term comes from, cubed. So let's take our 16 raised to the 3rd power, because there's 3 16s, right? And look over to the answers. Do any of those answers say 16 raised to the 3rd power, or another name, 16 cubed? Well, C right here does. Look at that. 16 raised to the third power. How'd you do on that one? That was a little tricky. All right, let's go on to question 6. Question 6 says, Anna found that there are 3 raised to the fourth power options for pizzas with different toppings at her local pizzeria. I hope one of them was vegan. How many total options are there for pizzas? So what we're asking here is we've got 3 raised to the fourth power. How much is that? What number is that? Well, here's how we figure that out. 3 raised to the fourth power means the same as 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. That's why it's 3 raised to the fourth power. It's 3 times itself 4 times. Let's start with the first 2. 3 times 3, I think we can all agree that that's 9. Now we've got this 9 here, and we have another 3 we have to multiply by. So we're going to do 9 times 3, and I think we can all agree that that's 27. Now that kills that 3 right there. Now we have 1 3 left. We've got this 27, and we've got to times it by this 3. So 27 times 3 is 81. So now we've used all of these 3's, and 3 raised to the fourth power, as we can now see, is 81. Well, if we look over here to the answers, do we see one of these that says 81? We sure do. Letter D. Enjoy the pizza, Anna. How'd you do on this one? This one wasn't too bad. All right, let's go to question 7. Question 7 says, Joanna purchased 4 boxes of cookies for a party. Each one of the boxes costs $3.28, including tax. So that's the complete cost for each box. Which expression below represents how to calculate the total cost of cookies Joanna purchased? Well, the first thing we need to look at is we know that it was $3.28 per box. Let's make that look like an 8. It also says that Joanna purchased 4 boxes. So we're timesing this whole thing by 4. There's quite a few ways to show this. We could do 4 and then pop the 328 in parentheses. We could do 4 times 328. We could say 4 times 328. That might get confusing with 2 decimals. All of these are correct. So if we just take these options and come over here and look at the answers over here, which one of these are saying 4 times 328? Do any of the ones that we've rewritten look like what's on A, B, C, or D? And yes, it does. B is looking pretty good to me, right? 4, and with the parentheses, that means multiplication, times 328. How'd you do on this one? This one was pretty simple. All right, let's get to question 8. Question 8 says, what is the value of 3 times some number, we're using n, raised to the second power, minus 2 times some number, when that some number is 4? So the first we want to do is replace the n's with the 4's, because right here it's telling us that n equal 4. So I'm going to rewrite the question and replace the n with the 4. We've got 3 times 4 raised to the second power. Don't forget about that exponent right there. Minus 2 times 4 by itself. That's our new equation. Then we want to jump into PEMDAS. Remember, we have to do the order of operations. First, are there any parentheses? Well, there are. We've got one right here with the 4 in it. There's nothing to do there. It's already down to one number. And then we've got this one here with the 4 squared. Now, do we need to do something there? We sure do. That's a 4 squared. We need that number, whatever that is. We need that simplified. So let's start with that. 4 squared is just 4 times itself. And 4 times 4 is 16. Now let's rewrite the question and replace the 4 squared with the 16. So now we've got 3 times 16 minus 2 times 4. That's our new equation. So we've done the parentheses. Are there any exponents outside the parentheses as we're following along with PEMDAS? There are not. Is there any multiplication or division? Well, there sure is. We've got 3 times 16 here and 4 times 2 here. 16 times 3 is 48. And 4 times 2 is 8. So let's rewrite the question, and instead of having 3 times 16, we'll put 48. And instead of having 4 times 2, we'll put 8. So here we've got 3 times 16, which is now 48, minus, because we still got that minus sign there, 4 times 2, which is now 8. And 48 minus 8 is a whopping 40. How'd you do on this one? This one was a little tough. All right, let's go on to question 9. Question 9 says, what is the value of the expression below if m equal 3? And here's the expression, 3 times m plus 7. And notice, m plus 7 is in parentheses. Let's jump to PEMDAS. We want to make sure we do this in the correct order of operations. First, is there anything to do in parentheses? Well, there sure is. We have an m plus 7. Well, we know up here that m equals 3 because they're telling us m is 3. So we're going to rewrite the question with m as 3. And that's 3 times 3 plus 7. So in the parentheses, we have 3 plus 7. So we have to do that before we can do any of this multiplication stuff. 3 plus 7 is 10. So let's rewrite the question as 3 times 10, because we know that 3 plus 7 is 10. Now we've done the parentheses. Are there any exponents? There are not. Any multiplication? Well, actually, that's all we have left right here, 3 times 10. So we can go ahead and do that, and 3 times 10 is 30. There's nothing left after that. There's no divides, there's no addition, there's no subtraction. So that's our final answer. Let's take that answer over here. Is that one of our options? Well, it sure is. Letter C is looking good to me. Did you get 30 for this one? All right, let's move on to question 10. All right, question 10 is our last question, and it's a doozy. Miss Young is having new carpet installed in her square-shaped living room. So the living room's a square. All the sides are the same. That's a clue right there. In addition to the cost of the carpet, so she has to pay for the actual carpet, right? In addition to that, Miss Young will be paying a fee to have it installed. Miss Young can use the expression below where X represents the side length of the floor to find the total cost of the carpet. So she's purchased the carpet, and I'm guessing it's $100, plus it's 3 times whatever the feet are squared. So let's figure out the math. The equation is 100, because we're just following this right here, 100 plus 3x, which is 3 times whatever the feet is, I guess it's $3 a foot to install, squared. So they're taking her room, whatever the size it is, it's a square room, and they're timesing the length and the width to get the square footage of the room. That's how you figure out square footage, the length times the width of the room. And now they're telling us over here that the room is 12 feet square. So a 12-foot square room would be 12-foot length and 12-foot depth. And we would square that to get the square footage. It looks like here they're charging $3 a square foot to install this carpet that she bought for $100. So those are the numbers. We've got the $100, which is a one-time charge because she's bought the carpet, she owns it. Then the installers are coming and they don't know, I mean, I guess they do know it's 12 feet, but they're giving her an estimate based on a 12-foot room. So we're going to rewrite the question with the numbers that we have. We've got $100 for that one-time charge for the carpet, plus $3, right, times 12 squared. So let's do the math. First of all, we're going to follow PEMDAS again, right? We want to make sure we do the order of operations. Is there anything in parentheses? Well, there sure is, 12 squared. Let's square 12 and get rid of the parentheses. 12 times 12, which is 12 squared, equals 144. So in this room, this 12-foot squared room, it's 144 square feet. That's what 12 times 12 is. So let's rewrite this question and get rid of the 12 squared. So we've got 100 plus 3 times 144. Next, let's go to exponents. Do we have any exponents? Well, we did, but they were in the parentheses, so we did them first. Then we've got multiplication. Do we have any multiplication? Well, we do. 3 times 144. And 3 times 144 is 432. So now let's rewrite the question and replace the 3 times 144 with 432. We've got 100 plus 432. Do we have any division or multiplication left? We don't. We've just kind of got this 100 plus 432. So all we have is addition and subtraction. Let's figure out our answer. We've got 100 plus 432, and that's going to give us 532. So the final answer is $532. How'd you do on this one? Well, that wraps up our review for writing and simplifying expressions. I hope you did well, and I hope you do well on the test. Please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe, or I'm giving you detention. There's the bell. We'll see you next time.